Hey guys, it's Matt. Zara's gonna maybe join us for a while here, make an appearance. I'm gonna talk about a bunch of different things. Um, the wonderful Marvel Shang-Chi movie, which I'm not going to see, but what are they out to do with this strange Zara? Come back. Oh well, what are they trying to do with this strange kung fu hybrid movie? Probably out to destroy the heritage, the good heritage of kung fu movies that go back to the 70s, but we'll see. Talk about people in my family. I'll just keep it general, like a Labor Day thing with the family, which was on Sunday. Basically, like Agent Smith popping into people. The Agent Smith in The Matrix, where the agent could pop into anybody in the Matrix, any quote NPC, the Agent Smith could take over. It's basically what would happen to me on Sunday. Um, I don't even know how to talk about that, but that's probably the most important point. So maybe I'll just get to that first. Um, a bunch of other little things here, like this constant parts shortage we're hearing about, parts shortage. Constant lack of parts to make new automobiles. Right. Sure. That wouldn't be planned out by the one world system, would it? No. Anyway, okay. Well, let's do the most important thing first, I guess. The Agent Smith popping into family members at the picnic. Guys, some of you are going to be yelling at me like, and you should be yelling at me like, Matt, you did it again. You engaged with them again. I, this is, I will go back to this every time. I haven't learned my lesson. I like the term. The term is applicable. It's our cross to carry. And I don't know how we got into it, and it was mostly a debate, guys, about the Mandela effect. I'm not gonna. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about that, and I'm not going to talk about that. But see, with these people, your family members, that when the agent Smith comes in, it doesn't matter what the topic is. If it's in that truth bucket or truth category, it doesn't matter what the topic is. Even at one point, my mother said, "Oh, you're going to probably want to talk about the movie Captain Hook again." She keeps bringing that up. Remember when you were wrong about that? Like what? So the point, guys, I don't want to belabor it, but it is. Uh, I don't know how to talk about it when the topics come up, and I didn't approach anybody and put it in their face. I don't know how I'm baited into this or how it came about. I wouldn't just be like, let's talk about the Mandela effect or let's talk about fake politics. I wouldn't go up and just start talking to somebody about that blatantly. However it came up, they they get it's like a it's I should never say this regarding family members, whatever it is, but it is related. It's the only way I can express it. It's like a demon. It's like a demon takes over or something. It's not that they're so evil, but you don't recognize who they are. It's like Agent Smith popping into somebody in the Matrix, and the characteristics are always the same. They get their backup and they want to argue with you instead of always just instead of trying to understand or again I'm sorry, I know I've been over this a million times, but it's just I can't believe I basically was in the same situation again. There could be some new people that don't know what I'm talking about, but how would you and I would if somebody said something wacky or they just went upstairs and they saw the ghost of their great Uncle Joe or something, we would be like, "What? Sit down. Tell me what happened. Did you see anything? Did you feel it?" We'd be interested. We'd show empathy, or it's just we wouldn't have an Agent Smith take over us and be like, "Oh, come on, you're gonna talk about that nonsense again." I mean, it's like then they try to fight, and at one point, again, then it turned into a good 20-minute conversation about the Mandela effect. One person was keeping the conversation going, and I was happy, of course, to talk about it. How often do we get to talk about this stuff? Never. But then, my mother, I say, what is it, Isaiah 11:6, how that's a big one. The lion lies down with the lamb. And I was just giving, here we go again. I'll get off the Mandela effect topic, guys, soon. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it. But, it's asking the same questions. And she goes, well, I'm going to go get the Bible. And it was like, prove me wrong, prove me wrong, prove me wrong, prove me. I'm like, wait, you're not, I know what the Bible, don't run and get the Bible. I know what it's going to say. It's going to say the wolf lies down with the lamb. I'm going to show you. And look here. It's, what? You, and there was a complete lack of common sense. And I'm saying, you don't understand. I know what it says. You're not understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's prove you wrong. And she ran and got the Bible. I'm going to look it up. What? Stop it. You're not listening to anything. Well, the other person was getting a little bit better. But then Agent Smith popped into their body. And this is, I'll leave it at this, guys. This is, I don't even know how to explain this. The Forrest Gump one came up. Oh, there was, let me just say quickly, we talk about the human download, and many people that in this community that don't see the Mandela effect, you do see signs of the human download, and generally, most people, even if you don't see the Mandela effect, you do, enjoy conversations. How fascinating is that people can literally get the human download, just defend the position of Agent Smith, and it happened twice on Sunday. One was with a family member, and I kind of led them on a few things, like, "Oh, remember this? Oh, yeah, of course I remember that." But then later, and when we started talking about, the Mandela effect, and they were aware that this is a truther conversation, or this has crossed the line to conspiracy, or what Matt pushes, then it was the information that they remembered was, oh, and I go, wait a second, remember what you said? Oh, I was misremembering, and that's what all you all do, misremember. They just and my mother did it with, she came and wanted to participate in the questionnaire. If you build it, and I will leave the Mandela effect topic, guys, in a second. I know many people do want to talk about it, but a good third of the people here really don't. But it did show to the human download. There's no more evidence of the human download, in my opinion, than in some of these Mandela effect conversations. So my mother was like, well, sure, if you build it, they will come. And then Pam, she's invited over. My mother invites her over, jumps in and says, "No, it's always been all of reality." Because I've talked with her about it so many times. Reflects, if you build it, he will come. And then it was like an immediate download. It was, oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course. I said, well, your first instinct was they. Why did you say that? Oh, I don't even know what she said. She couldn't explain it away. She was like, well, it was just on the other night. It was just on the other night. I said, well, okay, it was just on the other. It was almost like she was trying to buy time for the download or the firmware upload to complete by just spewing out nonsense. It was just on the other night. Like, okay, well, remember the line. Why did you say it? Kind of say the way I wanted you to say it. Well, no, it's he. You just said, and then the download, and then basically the human download is real. It's just we've collectively we've seen too many pieces of evidence of it, and it's not just related to the Mandela effect. It's it's pretty much related to any conspiracy topic or anything we can see through the news media presentation. Somehow it's like the Agent Smith pops in. I mean, was that a predictive analogy or metaphor that the Matrix was basically showing how people's thoughts, the Agent Smith can pop in or will be no longer their own coming up. And the Matrix was 1999, but people's thoughts, once we come to the new millennium and we usher in the new millennium on the first day of the new millennium with the big event, people's thoughts will no longer be their own. And that's what we're showing you potentially in the Matrix. I mean, who knows? The Matrix, the truck driver sees, you know, uh, Trinity or Niobe, and then as soon as the truck driver sees um, one of the, you know, one of the outcast red pills. Then the agent pops, just completely morphs and becomes the truck driver. And it's well, it is different than there's a scene in that Alita Battle Age Angel, um, where one of the bad guys, there's like a super bad guy. The super bad guy can just become him, and the other bad guys, and the other thugs say, "Ooh," they recognize that basically the middle level thug has been taken over, possessed almost, and then they bow down to the super thug that lives up in Elysium. By the way, if you just want a fun movie, you'll know within the first 5 minutes whether it's for you. That sort of, it's not anime. It's pretty darn well done. If you just want a fun movie with the caricature, the animated girl that interacts with real actors, it's incredible how it's done, and it was actually an enjoyable movie. I mean, I can't. How many times can you say that? Alita Battle Angel. No, I'm not gonna bow down to it and put it on my shelf next to Dances with Wolves. But what do we have to? We have a lack of anything decent, and I was actually surprised as to how enjoyable it was because my standards are lower. But anyway. So again, just to finish this section, guys. There's never. It's always your backup. It's always an attempt to put down, to squash. There's never a, I didn't explain the real possession, the real Agent Smith scene. This was the most bizarre thing, and let me just finish my thought. There's never attempt to understand or to acknowledge that, I'm not going to come around. You've heard me say this a million times, but that's pretty hard to refute, Matt, or that's pretty amazing what you just said. Nothing ever. That's a proof of and I know I've said it a million times, but that's a proof of the Agent Smith, or they're not. I don't believe, like, I don't really believe. I hope this is coming out right, that some demon is gone into my stepfather or something. I'm just there. It's the Agent Smith metaphor or analogy. It's simply they're running the scripts. They're running the exact scripts of what, for lack of better words, the reality would want them to run. How that happens, what technology is involved, what dark whatever's involved, I don't know. We'll never know, but that doesn't mean I don't really believe something's taken over their body. Of course, they're just simply the common sense or the intuitive or inquisitive nature of a real human being is put aside or buried deep, dark down in the mind or in the consciousness, however you want to put it, and the scripts and the cue cards run of what the reality will try to defend itself against. And this is the human download, and it doesn't just apply to the Mandela effect. But the last thing about the absolute total bizarro situation was when, with one family member, I don't want to really single anybody out, or say too much out publicly like this, but um, it was a, we're talking about the Forrest Gump. Um, if you build it, no, that's Field of Dreams. Sorry, we're talking about um, life is like, life was like, life is like, and of course everybody knows, life is like a box of chocolates, and the big deal with a lot of people is now it says was, life was like. So the point is, I said, well, a lot of us, including me, have this 20th anniversary edition DVD. On the back of the box, it says the quote, life is like a box of chocolates. So how do you explain? Remember, I was trying to tell you about these things called residuals. How do you explain the fact that the back of the box got it wrong? Like, how is that even possible? It's not, I mean, this is the back of the 20th anniversary edition. And it's almost like blue screen, guys. The scripts don't know how to run, or they don't have, there is no way to explain that away. So it's just a bunch of nonsense that comes out. I don't hope this person, they now have a better understanding of what I do in this channel. I hope they never watch this. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I don't know any other way to explain it. It's just a bunch of nonsense. So, do you see how, even if you're not Mandela affected, you might say, it is awfully strange when the key quote in the movie, which is one of the key quote iconic lines of all time in movie history, is wrong on the back of the box that went out to millions and millions of people. And I said, and I just said, all this people trying to jump in and trying to, all this noise to distract. I said, well, no, I want you to focus on this, and I want your best answer. And it was like glitch out. It was like, hi Zara. It was, um, well, this and that, and it reaching for different answers, and it was, well, editors. I was like, what? Editors? What do you? This was the best they could come up with, but see, it was impossible, physically or metaphysically impossible for them to acknowledge that, Matt, that is amazing. I'm not going to come around, but that is, I hear you. That does seem like incredible residual, like you say. They can't give you an inch. This is I've talked about this probably, too many times, but it's fascinating. It's the biggest symptom of the download, or human being on the download, is they can't give you an inch. And this is a giveaway. And he says, well, editors. I said, what? Editors? And it was something, the person explained it like, well, this is really what it should be. The editor may have known that, realized that life is a timeless concept. Can't was, is better, or is more appropriate. I'm like, well, what? It was so bizarre. I'm like, what are you saying? That the movie was delivered, millions of people saw the movie. This is the 20th anniversary box. Um, Tom Hanks said the line. It's one of the, everybody would admit it's one of the most iconic lines in movie history, but some editor that was responsible for the back of the DVD box just decided to change it on their own. And the person was like, yeah. I was like, I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, when you're thrown, guys, when you're thrown that sort of insanity, what do you do? It was just any script to run to explain it away, other than what anybody should have said. Matt, I'm not going to come around to this Mandela effect, but that's the weirdest thing of all time. You have a DVD box that quotes the movie line wrong. I'm not going to come around, but that's pretty good evidence for your Mandela thing. No, it's like, no, it's the editor. It's like, what? So I said, I was trying to come up with these crazy, it was so bizarre trying to come up with other examples. I said, well, don't you think that, isn't that like the big line from the movie? Well, they have to admit that. Isn't that one of the biggest lines in movie history? And they have to admit that. But then some $20 an hour editor decided on their own to change the box. I said, let's just say that happened. Let's just say that happened. Then let's just say the first 100,000 printings went out, the first 100. Nobody at the company, nobody at the movie studio, or whoever makes the DVD picked up the box and said, this is wrong. Like nobody caught it. Nobody went in, and how did that go? Like, can you see, the only way I figure I could break through is if I say to them, like, how would that go? Like somebody that's on the assembly line, they see this is wrong, and they call their big boss, and then the boss calls the studio. Um, we just sent out 100,000 DVD cases where the quote on the back of the box is wrong. So what do we do? Like, I'm trying to get that person to think through this. And anybody would think, what are they going to do? Say, F it. Who cares if it's wrong? Like, no, we'll stop it and fix it, or at least discuss it. So I forget, what did they say? Oh, that was just constant glitching out. It was like, well, I can't put myself in what I would do if I worked for the company that printed the DVD. I don't know. I can't even picture that. Or I can't put myself into the movie studio's position of. I was like, it was literally, guys, I will never take the two reality things off the table. I will never take two separate realities off the table. In fact, that sounds like I'm just keeping it on the table like some remote possibility. It's almost becoming my primary, as weird as and impossible to explain as it is. It's almost my primary theory. Two different realities. Uncanny deduction says it's potentially like you'll talk, and it's almost like you have a reality bubble, they have a reality bubble, and through the medium, if this is the best way to describe it, the words just what you said is not even what they hear. Like through the different mediums of the reality bubbles, like you hear this, then they hear it. They're not even communicating with the same words. And this, I know how out there this is, guys. But when this stuff happens over and over again, it's stupid not to reach for the answer in the weirdest of places, because the answer ultimately, and if anybody's yelling at me, yeah, Matt, trying to constantly reach for the answer is the chase that it wants. It's the breadcrumb chase that it wants. It is. But we're always going to do this to a degree. The weirdest answer, if we ever do hit on an answer, the weirdest one will be the right one. So uncanny deduction, like two reality bubbles, like the movie The Sphere, maybe with Samuel L. Jackson and Sharon Stone, and your words go out. Once it goes through that membrane or whatever, they hear something completely different. And then when you get into complex conversation like what you're trying to do, it's just gibberish back and forth. The person I'm speaking to is not dumb. I mean, this is a highly, highly, educated person from a credentialing standpoint of society, and potentially they were explaining to me very rationally, maybe. I'm trying to keep this theory on the table very rationally, how the back of a DVD box can just month after month just keep printing the quote that's wrong, and nobody cares, and maybe their explanation was coherent and made sense. But once it went through their membrane and went through my membrane, and they're on the ship of fools, and they've sailed so far away down their reality that it just comes back as gibberish to me, potentially. That editors just decided to move forward and kind of change it. Like, what? So I didn't say the example. I'm trying to communicate back. There was almost like a communication divide, like the words coming out of my mouth is not what they hear, or two completely separate realities. So I tried to come up with some examples because this is the only chance I had at the time, and I should have just, of course, I should have never even been in that situation to begin with. Of course, carry your cross and just shut up about it. Matt, practice what you preach. Sure, I should. I said, look, look, this line is super famous. I mean, Stanley Kubrick, 2001. Everybody bows down. This is the ultimate movie of with sci-fi and symbolism. And what if I tried to give them an example? It was just crazy. What if Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of Arthur C. Clarke's book, and I know they were made together at the same time, but that's the way I presented it to make my argument seem a little stronger. What is Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of Arthur C. Clarke's book? And he put something out, and this is the most revered movie of all time, along with Arthur C. Clarke's book, and just some guy that does the DVD box, just or some girl. I want to be very mindful of presenting it the right way, in New York State pronouns. Um, what if they just made some changes that they said Kubrick didn't, I don't like the monolith, and it should be like this. And then they started to print hundreds of thousands of boxes. That's just, I don't know what the person said back to me, but I could not get through to them. Anyway, it's very long-winded, and I apologize, but what else am I gonna, I had to get it out. I guess in summary, guys, the best way, whether it's right or not, the best way to look at it is at the minimum, like uncanny deductions, just assume your words are going to get. It's like it is. Maybe this is the Tower of Babel's principle coming back, where we just simply can't understand each other. They're not even hearing what you're saying, or two completely separate realities. They've sailed so far down the river on the ship that it's like or potentially is separate realities. So if you truly believe that, or believe this reality acts this way, at least from our perspective to the normie, then if you truly can picture this is the way things work, there is no point, again, in even having a one sentence conversation with anybody. And I hear you people yelling at me. You keep saying learn your lesson, and you're back 2 months later with another story. Okay, I hear you. All right. Let's talk about quickly about college football. Um, there's the not milk reality is all part of the script that's playing out now. It is pushing college football in terms of the crowds. Um, I don't know if I'm going to get to the bottom of why the not milk is pushing college football so aggressively. Maybe that's for another video. I will think about it. But I'm just saying in this case, I'm just noticing the matrix code and reading the matrix code. It's not that somebody would explain it away and say, Matt, they didn't even have a season last year. They did, but they didn't. And the Big Ten and the Pac-10 or Pac-12, they said they weren't even going to play, and then they decided it was a. So they're so desperate. They're so happy to have everything back. Everything's being rolled out in a bigger fashion because hey, it's like welcome back to Applebee's. We miss you. It's not that. That is the best way to explain it away, but it's not that. They every stadium is packed, but they make it they're just doing things that they've never done in the past. I noticed I didn't even watch a lot of games. I watched two games and what I haven't watched sports for a year and a half. I was very thankful to have something called college football that looked like a real game taking place with a real crowd. I was very appreciative of that and I miss that. I know a big segment of this community poo-poos all sports. Well, okay. You know, this is what I like. What do you like? So, you know, we're human here. So give me a break. So even the tunnels, they come out into their tunnels before the game, and the team tunnel in the two, I only saw part of the third game. The two where I saw the opening of the game in two different venues, hundreds of miles away, they had the tunnel. It was this, usually they just come out in this concrete tunnel and they're getting all psyched up and the camera's in there, but they have like, it was like the walls were lined and they had neon lights everywhere and strobe lights and they were turning into like Studio 54 and it was if you can read the matrix code. I'm like, this is all part of a not milk presentation, and it's not. It can be easily explained away that Matt, they missed last year. They're just happy to be back. They're making a big deal out of it. The Big Ten got together with the Pac-12 or whatever, and they put all these strobe lights into the tunnels, and they're making a big. No, there's something going on with, and I probably should be more prepared now to talk about the potential reasons for it. But related back to, I touched on it briefly in the old-fashioned radio show. It's originally they came with this. They came with a summer of confusion where nothing can, you always have to confuse everybody at every turn. There can be no consistency in the presentation, no consistency in the approach. And this, in some way, I'm not getting to the bottom of it all. I'll think about it for a few days. But this is part of it, where, again, it creates constant mental conflict, not just in us, in everybody, the way society's going about this thing. And this conflict is very damaging to people, and they probably don't even realize or consciously recognize the conflict. So again, I didn't do a good job in the old-fashioned radio show explaining this. They go on the news and they hear again all this bad news. Mississippi hospitals are overflowing. Mississippi because they won't rent the movie down there. Carlos Carlos De La Hoya, whatever his name was, he was supposed to fight on De La Hoya was supposed to fight on September 11th, but he can't fight. Interesting date, right? He can't fight because he has the swing out sister break through. They have another uh, Aunt V. They have another Aunt V called Breakthrough, which I call the swing out sister breakout Aunt V. If you didn't see the old-fashioned radio show, so the people watching the news, they get that bad news and they get, oh, well, this state and that state and this state and that state. They're recommending everybody mask up before they go here or there. And then so you see all this stuff like, oh, it's going to be the normie says, oh, it's going to be a bad winter and it's coming again. And then they go, let's watch the Notre Dame. Florida State game, and there's like thousands and thousands of people in the stands, and nothing was as jam packed as that Wisconsin Penn State Camp Randall Stadium. I'll just say one more time, even if you saw the old fashioned radio show, guys, the we're talking about thousands and thousands of kids smashed up, turning, yelling and screaming. And if you had one of these like micro cams or whatever, you could blacklight everybody, and just to one of those cams where when you flush the toilet, it shows the thousands and millions of parts of fecal matter flying around your bathroom, settling on your toothbrush. That if they had one of those cams, you would see tens of millions of pieces of spit and snot. And every time you actually don't even realize about this, every time you get them, that's a bullshit call. Thousands of pieces of whatever micro you can't see come out, and they all swapped spit. And then literally my local news the next day, I forget who gave the directive, but if you go into a city hall building, or I don't know what it said, it said it will, and social distancing will be very enforced in this building or going to this municipal building. What? I just watched, and it's not just, it would be one thing, guys, if the presentation of it was somewhat. I struggle the most here, guys, if I could back up a second, with what drives me crazy is the lack of consistency in the presentation of, well, if these protocols are needed to stay safe, then at least be consistent, carry them forth everywhere. The inconsistency drives me crazy. But see, the inconsistency is all by design. It's all on purpose by an evil genius we'll never truly understand. That's way beyond what regular men and women could ever plan out and ever pull off. Which that's why I just end up call it a cop out or not, the reality itself. So all these protocols of the Mississippi is in dire straits, and Carlos de la Hoya, he can't fight. He rented both movies, and that's why it's called the Swing Out Sister Aunt V. But then let's put on the Wisconsin game. Thousands of kids and screaming in each other's faces. It's kind of like the women's with the women's. I complained about this a little bit with the women's U.S. volleyball team that I think they won the gold medal in Tokyo, where if you might remember me mentioning it, the inconsistency of it, where if Japan's gonna make a presentation, and all of Japan for the Olympics is the entire Olympics is masked up. Every athlete, you couldn't, and the Japanese were very tough with the enforcement of it. There's probably nobody more on the download. Well, I don't want to say anything else, or this video won't load. But as I said, with the Olympics, like Katie Ledecky would get right out of the pool after a 20-minute swim, and the Japanese handler would be like, "Put this on," So I don't even blame the athletes. They were constantly, the Japanese handlers would come over, and I saw one. I think I mentioned this. They're just waiting in line to go out to the pool deck. It's just a kind of a quote green room for the athletes waiting to go out to the pool deck. And so you try to hyperventilate, you try to fill your lungs with oxygen of what you have to do in the pool. The guy like pulls his mask down, and the Japanese handler, this short woman, immediately went, and the guy's like, well, I don't want to be thrown. I just trained my entire life for this event. I don't want to be thrown out of the venue or something, or just, so he pulled it back up. It was like, what? The Olympic athletes are by themselves. They're 5 feet away from being, 30 seconds away from being allowed to walk on the pool deck. So a lot of them, as they walked out on the pool deck, they immediately pulled it down. Others that are more on the download, they kept it on until they stepped up on the block. It was just the environment was very toxic in that regard. So you see the Olympics like that, and you say, well, this is where the conflict happens, or the inconsistency. It causes a cognitive dissonance to a degree in everyone. You say, well, this is kind of what big sports are going to be, I guess, for years and years in this environment. We're gonna have to put up with this, and that's why I was really scared to tune into the Penn State Wisconsin game. And I didn't know what to expect. I don't watch the news on this stuff, so I watched the Olympics, and the mask presentation was just, as I said, I can't stress how aggressive the mask presentation was. Everybody in the stands, okay, you got it. So then I put on, well, what are they going to do? Is it going to be, they're going to let, I figure they're going to let because everybody's rented the movie, the students have all rented the movie, they're going to let thousands and thousands of people in, but they might require, you've got 2 feet apart, and it might be 20,000 or 30,000 less in, and there's going to be a lot of face coverings, and it's like, I'll just watch the game. And I turn it on, and it's like we could have been in 2005. I was like, with a few, they show the crowd, like I said, every 50 people, there's a mask there, a mask there, a mask, but it was very light, and I was just like, what? So I expected to see not the Olympics, but something that looked a little bit like the Olympics. So this is the constant confusion and cognitive dissonance. And for anybody somewhat new, there is no way to explain it. There is. I just say the reality itself that not Nilk is Clinton spelled backwards. The reality itself, through its mechanisms, its technologies, its downloads, its human downloads, it sees to this inconsistency and confusion somehow, and it's 5 steps ahead of us, and it doesn't need to be 10 steps ahead of the normie because the normie is high stepping with it. The normie is on its frequency, and maybe always will be. So um, it, it's there is no other way to explain it, how the administrators of the universities, the athletic directors, the chancellors, the provost, whatever that is, they, the not Nilk reality, wanted an absolute jam-packed stadiums, and they, for whatever reason, the fall of confusion to create underlying cognitive dissonance where people just don't understand that they're seeing these packed stadiums, and the local news is telling them that even in a municipal building that's pretty much empty, they're going to push this distancing and masks and the inconsistency. So, but the people, the chancellor and the provost and the athletic directors, again, they're not getting little cards from the Illuminati window. They're not, they might get some directives from the Big Ten, but the people carry out the wishes of the not Nilk reality system at the highest levels without, as we would understand, being in on it. They have, this is the human download. There's no other way to explain it. And I guess when I first floated that, that was a little strange, but the evidence of it is overwhelming. From the highest levels, like the way universities are going about presenting their football games, to what happened with me at the hamburgers and hot dogs barbecue picnic, where people like Agent Smith popped into half my family that I was talking to. I mean, just it's everywhere. And the Agent Smith, um, not they're not possessed, but this is a good analogy. So if that's the case, if Neo is in the Matrix, he's looking for the woman in red or whatever. He's in the real Matrix, and he knows that if whoever he talks to, he goes to a hot dog stand or whatever, a fruit peddler on a street corner, and he knows that he might be recognized, and Agent Smith could pop in to that person. He's not going to talk to anybody. We need to do the same thing. We need to recognize that's how I'll up the ante on myself. That if I say anything controversial about anything, it's not just, I know I was harping on the Mandela effect, but um, I'll say something about politics. Someone will say something about politics, and I'll say, yeah, like if they float another Russians hacked the election theme, is anybody going to believe that? Like, how much of that do you need to hear before you kind of go that? And then Agent Smith pops into people, and they'll say, they'll defend it. They won't, they just can't be big people. And I'll move on, guys. I'm sorry. They can't say, Matt, you told us. I mean, I'll give you that, Matt. Like, after 5 years of this Russian hack, this to that, and it's getting tiresome. I hear you, Matt, but no, they defend it. They defend it like they're very source code is at risk. Maybe it is. I don't know. So there's something going on with college football, and there's only two possibilities the way I can see it now, but I haven't thought about it. Either that's kind of like, if hey, if you want to move society here, you've got to every once in a while you've got to throw that slave in Papillon. Papillon is that the name of the prison? Excuse me. So you got to throw them some meat or so, something nourishing every so often, or they're going to die in that Papillon cell. And maybe that's what they're people are so desperate for something, and the Whopper sentient world simulation knows exactly what people need. If they're deficient in a certain amino acid, you need arginine or orthonine or whatever to live to replace heart tissue. Then it knows to give some beef jerky under the cell at Papillon so people can keep going. And maybe it's that simple. Maybe it knew that you just have to. We're going to return a little bit of real life through college football. And even all the announcers, they weren't in on it. I like the announcer that did the Penn State Wisconsin game. He's for Fox and he's overly excited about everything, but I've always kind of liked him. He would probably turn some people off. But he's like, look at the people, look at the pageantry. College football is back and it's the king of sports. Excuse me. I should have, my nose hair appointment was canceled again. Someone actually believed when I said that months back that I had a nose hair appointment with a specialist. I have that thing, it's not the test, but it goes buzz. I haven't used it for a while. So even he is presenting like the king of sports is back and the history. And I'm thinking, I'm just listening. It's just a little too over the top, if you know what I mean. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the download. He didn't get no cue card from the Illuminati. Now I'm thinking about it, guys. He didn't get no cue card from the Illuminati window saying push college football. Then he questioned, well, why, who's telling me from on high to push certain things? And they just do it. It's the human download. All right, let's quickly talk about this ridiculous parts shortage. Um, Here, the extent of me getting news usually is pausing my Comcast cable to go off and feed cats or something because I don't know, 5 minutes in, it replaces the frozen frame of the DVR with a Comcast screen that every 10 seconds flashes a different image and gives a little news headline at the bottom or a picture of a pretty scene in Norway or wherever. And I haven't talked about this, but even that is, in my opinion, a not milk spring, summer of confusion, CV, post, the second big event, CV confusion tactic. Um, and I know this is probably getting out there too, but we don't have too many people stumbling upon this video. So I've always noticed that there is a huge attempt in this reality to blend the absurd with the serious. And this is a repeating theme, and I certainly haven't thought about it at length and gotten to the bottom as to why this may be. But it shows itself when you pause something and the Comcast starts every 10 seconds showing an image. The bottom left, say, will be a news headline. So it'll be very serious news headline followed by complete nonsense, and then maybe one in between. And without anybody who puts those news headlines there being in on it or getting a direction from the Illuminati window, this is all part of it. The constant confusion of putting something very serious next to some complete nonsense, or putting a presentation of an Olympic event like the Olympics, or a sporting event like the Olympics that takes C extremely serious distancing, where then 3 weeks later you have 80,000 kids piling on top of each other in a football stadium. The constant confusion. So one headline might say, it was actually yesterday. This is where I get my news. Mississippi hospitals overflowing. Big problems because only it said 38%. It said have rented the movie. Then the next headline will be literally something like housewives of it. The screen will go away, a new picture will come up, headline, 10 seconds. Housewives of Atlanta star Jaden so and so to divorce so and so, like, or fighting custody battle over her baby. Like, did the dingo eat your baby? I mean, like, what? Like, are you going to be serious with these headlines, or what is? And it's, I mean, I get, guys, I understand. There's a percentage of people here that are ready to turn me off, saying, you know, I, but I assure they're ready to turn me off because you're saying, Matt, so the people that load the headlines at Comcast, they're stacking the absurd next to the serious, and this is some reality tactic to cause some sort of mental strife and cognitive dissonance in people, to potentially have them tune themselves back to the frequency. I mean, you come on, Matt. I mean, you're getting a little out there. Are you struggling for material? I don't ever make a video, guys, struggling for material. I'll never do that. Never do that. I'll come here and just pick my nose if there's. I have never said anything just to push for the time for the material. I assure you, anybody that's questioning this and thinking I'm not going to listen to this guy Matt anymore, I assure you, the old guard here, I know the old guard here is going. That's generally how this reality does business. This confusion tactic, you'll see it if you just okay. So I understand some of the stuff I say is out there and beyond out there. Okay, so the point was this like Comcast ticker is the only place I generally get my news, and one of the things that came on screen between like two Britney Spears news items was part shortage continues to make the cost of a new car skyrocket, or new cars hard to find. I don't know exactly how it was put, but we've heard this part shortage, buying a new car, and how certain models and brands are not on the lots. And Pam's old Kia, uh, she had to buy a new car 4 or 5 months ago, and she went through this. I'm sure she paid a few $1,000s more than she should. There's no negotiating. She had to buy a new car, and I guess there's no reason to make this segment very long. Um, this part shortage is ridiculous. I'm just, it's completely 100% part of the master script that's being laid down now. And in my opinion, there is a lot of different things coming at us from different aspects of reality. A part shortage is causing this, and oh, it's stress. Do I need to buy? Should I rush out now and buy a car? Same thing's going on with the housing market. In certain markets, you have to rush out and buy the first day, or you'll lose the house. And I haven't thought about this at length either, but if I had to come up with an explanation now, usually if I haven't thought about it and I have to come up with a quick explanation, I think usually that explanation is correct, but it's the first grade explanation. It's never the real explanation. You have to really get in its sick brain and mind to realize what its ultimate goal is. It's usually right, but first grade. So I think this will be right again, but first grade. They they will hit the entire populace with a desperation to return to normalcy. Um, the constant confusion, or oh, I have to, oh, and I didn't realize in this municipal building I have to wear a mask, and I didn't bring it because I'm not used to wearing it now. But the college football game didn't have any, but then I've got to go back to my car. Constant extra things and confusion and just cognitive dissonance, and the same way with this part shortage. It is the same people that did the Suez Canal did this event, and it's not hard to do. I mean, this is not some metaphysical reality shift. You just those two key chips that are in everything. Turn the plant off. Send the Chinese workers home. For how long? A month. Send them home. I don't want to see no chips, no parts come out of that plant. Send them home. I said a few things that could be considered derogatory. You want to talk about walking on eggshells in terms of what can be said? Um, I said some things about, make, we'll satisfy them with certain types of foods, and I was trying to make a joke, and I'd love to be able to say it. I don't care. I care less of any ramification of saying anything that's a little risque or out there. I'm worried about the video loading. So let me just end this segment, guys. There's no legitimate parts shortage. And this one is so easy for them to, to throw a wrench in the gear. So the gear just grinds to a halt. And ultimately, it's just about causing pain in hundreds or thousands of different areas on people. Remember the example of trying to get in this municipal building. You can't come in here without a mask. Well, I just was at a college football game with 100,000 people packed on top. What do you mean? I got to go back to the car, or walk up to the store and buy one. I didn't bring. Just in that, it's constant confusion, constant pain, and the the reason for all of this, and this is the first great explanation again, is people in the back of their minds are they're crying out and desperate for normal life again, crying out and desperate. A part shortage, I can't get a car. So then they're willing to do anything to facilitate a normal life again, which starts with renting the movie action, but it's more to it than just that. They can do certain massage over here to get many more people interested in taking or renting it. And if too many people rent it, then they can do some massaging over here to get the numbers down. And let me just do 1 minute on that. I made the mistake a year ago, or a little over a year ago, saying they'll want almost 100% compliance on renting the movie or getting it, but I think it was 8 months ago or so, I said I made a mistake, and um, you know, I I was the first one I did say it was a mistake, but I was one of the first ones to say, or the first one to say that they want 20% not to do it, so they can keep people in camps. They can create hatred amongst camps. They can keep their gigantic multi-billion dollar infrastructure. They want 15 to 20% not to comply. And it's amazing how many of the truth channels that I still watch, which the list is pretty low now, but it's amazing how many they still think they want 100% to get the V. It just causes they want 15 to 20% not to, because it loves the conflict, it loves the tension, it loves to create camps that hate each other, it loves an excuse to maintain $100 billion infrastructures of tracing and infrastructures that they can keep in place forever, basically. So but it's in terms of massaging the numbers. For example, if the Comcast headline says Mississippi they're just overflowing the hospitals because only 38% in Mississippi when got the Krispy Kreme donut. That's just not Mississippi rebelling. If they wanted this all, I don't want to give it any credit, but this not milk system that is more pervasive than anything we possibly could have imagined 2 years ago. If it wanted Mississippi to be at 90%, it could do it, in my opinion. Then it's just a bunch of Obi-Wan Kenobi altruistic truthers that can reject the frequency and reject the downloads in Mississippi. No. If Mississippi's at 38%, that's pretty much where they want Mississippi to be. So they can use Mississippi, just as they're being used now, as a news headline for what you need to do to get. So you can massage the numbers up and down easily, and it was very similar to how they presented Hillary Clinton. You've heard me talk about this, so I'll try to be under a minute or two. The outcome of the 2016 election, of course, you know what I think about it. There's no vote or any. I mean, just the outcome is determined maybe 100 years ago. Who knows? The reality script goes back a long way, guys, a long way. Even if somebody's, crying out in the night now saying, could it even be related to Trump's uncle regarding he confiscated the Tesla works? And of course, it's all related, in my opinion. The reality script goes back a long way. So Trump was always going to become play that role, play that actor part. So they have through through they don't they'll present polls like the Gallup poll still exists, and they'll try to get you to believe that these polling companies like Gallup really do have to take the pulse of America to see what people think about this and that, when of course, you know what I'm going to say, the Whopper computer through everybody's emails, reading everything. It knows it doesn't need no Gallup is not necessary anymore. Gallup, if it even still existed, and these polling companies exist just to simply get people to believe that the supercomputer can't read in every one of your tweets, every one of your posts, every one of your emails, and they know exactly where people are. So if Hillary Clinton, let me try to wrap this up and not get too long-winded on it. If Hillary Clinton got too popular, which is that even possible? Is that those words don't even go together? Then they start with the coughing fits. You've heard me talk about this, and you start with the rumors and the coughing, and she's coughing into the microphone on purpose. So then they want her numbers. But Matt, if there's no real vote, why would they care about polling numbers or her if there's no real vote? Because they have to make it look as real as possible. So if Hillary lost, her supporters probably said, well, we kind of know why she lost. She got sick and she had those coughing fits, and they you have to give them reasons so they don't, not that they would ever look under too many rocks, but maybe back even as it seems like it's just a few years away, but maybe back in 2016, people weren't completely on the frequency like they are potentially now, the normies, not us, of course. So maybe you wouldn't see those tactics going forward. You would just have maybe so many people are on the frequency now that for the next quote election, whatever that means, one candidate will be completely loved and beloved and be handing out food at soup kitchens and then one candidate will be completely hated by every single group, and this candidate will win and everybody won't question it. I don't know. Maybe they don't have to hide it anymore. But you know what I mean. So what else is on the list, guys? Well, let's just talk about this Shang-Chi movie. Googlebot, this video is about the Shang-Chi movie. This is a Shang-Chi movie review. And at first I saw the headline. It said Shang-Chi, the Marvel. For those that don't know, guys, it's some Marvel Studios, part of Disney. Um, it combines kung fu elements and fantasy kung fu and just all these strange elements in a very Asian flavored Marvel movie. So, they did the Black Panther. Marvel, Marvel did the Black Panther. That seems like they're doing this for this group or whatever. So, but the point is that the headline was smashes all records for box office records for Labor Day at $70 million. I went. Even the critical drinker said no one's going to go see this dumb movie, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like nobody's going to see this movie. But then you look into it, and there's almost no movies that have ever been even released on Labor Day. It's such a bad time to release a movie. So it's not hard to smash all records. It was Halloween 2007, one of the Halloween remakes. 2007 was the previous record holder, and this is up to 70 million. I thought, well, that must be worldwide. This is maybe this movie Shang-Chi with the Asian kung fu flavor, and maybe all the Far East is going to see it, and that's where but these are just U.S. box office numbers. Either way, guys, um, each of these, the movie themes today, the point here is they're out to destroy something. Now, who knows what's going to come with Matrix 4? You've heard me talk about this a million times. If there's a good franchise of three movies made, or many people they liked 7 or 8 of the Marvel Universe movies with Iron Man and the Hulk, and then the last few or some offshoot movies was used even to destroy that, or how Prometheus and movies like that were used to destroy Alien, and the last Terminator was used to destroy. We've been over this. I just have to assume you guys know what I'm talking about. But this Chang-Chi seems to be potentially, what's the purpose of making a movie? It's out to destroy. But let me see if I can make my case here. Um, what's the purpose of making a movie that combines, who knows, the old-fashioned kung fu feel of a lot of the old movies. I have DVDs downstairs. Like my avatar for YouTube is the centipede from the Five Deadly Venoms. The Five Deadly Venoms, one of the most incredible kung fu movies of all time. And then these actors from the late 70s, 80s, they were so, they were so well liked in the kung fu genre that they became known as the Venoms. We didn't even know their name, but I have a lot of those other movies downstairs, like one's called The Kid with the Golden Arm, whatever. So you have this traditional kung fu genre of which Bruce Lee is really not part of it. His kung fu was different. It was more like street gang fighting. They're different movies. The old kung fu usually takes place, they fight the Manchus and hundreds of years ago, and they have their traditional dress and the long hair and these strange kung fu styles where they can walk up walls, very similar to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was the old kung fu feel. So you have Shang-Chi that incorporates the magic and mysticism of Doctor Strange, that weird bending of reality. You have the green pendants again. That not I don't want to stray on. I'll talk about that some other time. Key pendants in Shang-Chi are the exact same emerald green now presented. How many? What, 1,000 times? We still, guys. A lot of people here think they know exactly what that means. I'm telling you, we still don't know what that means. It's just incredible how that still eludes us. And Matt, speak for yourself. It still eludes you. Some people are very confident, but I don't. They've given me their explanation, and it's a good explanation what they've given me, but I'm not. I just think it's still open-ended. There's still, if somebody gives me a good explanation, I still think there's 4 or 5 other potential possibilities. Nevertheless, it's not the point here. That green comes in the form of a pendant in Shang-Chi. So traditional kung fu, Doctor Strange type stuff where you move your hands around and you create reality portals and strange magic. It's just a big mess. There's a comedy element in it with an Asian comedian, and apparently that doesn't work very well in the movie. So it's a big mess. And usually when this happens, or if the theme of how they do business, you'd say this is out to destroy something. So is it out to in some way harm or destroy the traditional kung fu genres, which there's a reason for. I don't know what it is. There's a reason why I'm highly addicted to the old, five deadly venoms type kung fu genre. I don't know why that's so appealing to me. There's something about it that I can't even put my finger on as to why that's so appealing to me. And it's not just fighting. For those that are not familiar with it, it's like a mysticism to a degree, or I don't know. It's hard to describe. Go to YouTube and just watch some fight scenes from the old 70s movies, the Five Deadly Venoms, and you'll get a flavor for what these movies were all about. So, but it's, is it out to destroy the old kung fu or genre? I know it's out to destroy something because it's just a mess of a bunch of different things going on. And I'm sure a small segment of people here that are relatively new say, well, Matt, they're desperate. They don't have the Marvel universe anymore. They need to make money, right? They just put out anything, just a mess. Sorry, they don't need to make money. They have to appear to be in the business of making money. They have to have a win every so often. So the shareholders and, oh, we got to win. They don't. The shareholders of the Walt Disney Company, they don't. Let me just inform them. This company doesn't need to make a penny. It doesn't need to make a penny. This is a key, an integral part of the not milk machine, just like Google and like just has a key lazy boy at the creepy table. They pull out a lazy boy for Disney, one of the key players of manipulating a population and tuning people down to the frequency. They don't ever need to make any money. They can get whatever they want, but they have to appear to make money, right? They have to be appear to be in business to me. So you have maybe that's the simple explanation for Chang-Chi. And if anybody's calling out saying, Matt, why did you present the box office results as real versus Halloween was the second in 2000? You're right. You're right. I don't care what numbers they give. It's potential that people are just so desperate for any kind of decent Marvel type movie, they did go out and spend this money, 70 million. Well, I mean, that's kind of a joke. I mean, you're talking about how many how many trillions and trillions of dollars a week need to change hands for this economy to keep propping itself up. And it's so artificially propped up. I don't even want to go there. This is getting very long. I know, but they still $70 million. That like the CEO makes that in a week. I mean, it's just these numbers don't even add up anymore. This you have this megalithic company, Disney, and all in the we probably need $70 million a day to turn the lights on. It's a $70 million opening. That's I don't know. That's just such a pittance, a pittance. That doesn't get Disney what they need. I mean, it's a joke. But anyway, 70 million. Let's just assume that number is real. The price of going to the movies is so ridiculous anymore. If you got popcorn and everything, 70 million, that's only 7 people going to the theater across the whole US. It's $10 million a person. Once you get the popcorn and the Mike and Ike's, and once you can, I mean, you know how expensive it is to buy that shit. If you buy food in the theater, who would even go anymore? And they've out to completely destroy the theater because they release half the stuff on HBO Max the same day they release it in the theater. So it's $10 million a ticket with the food. 7 people went. It doesn't matter. The number's probably accurate, but I would highly doubt anybody's going to comment if they saw or their kid saw Shang-Chi that they went to a theater this Labor Day and it was packed. I, it's possible, I guess, if it's an 8 o'clock show, but in a certain city or vacation resort, if it was raining or something, but I doubt it. Even if it was, you go see Shang-Chi today on a Tuesday, be like a friggin' ghost town. You expect Tumbleweed to roll through and Clint Eastwood to come up the aisle with his spurs on, asking you to draw or something. I mean, nobody's in that theater, in my opinion, but what do I know? What do I know? So, um, the takeaway on that is Chang-Chi is out to destroy something. Maybe you'll have your own interpretation of what it's out to destroy. And will the Matrix 4, by that notion, Matt, the Matrix 4 should destroy the first three? Maybe, maybe. I would have to put my chips that that's what it's going to do because that's the pattern every time. But the Matrix, in my opinion, is so important to the system, such a reveal of how reality works, but then they want to at the last second tune you into if you start believing reality is a simulation or quantum simulation and everything is not very real and everything's very fluid. At the very end of that path, they want to turn you down their dark path. That what drives it is all like dark technology, all quantum computers or zeros and ones and machine worlds and robots and programmers and I think the reality is a simulation and it's very fluid, but at the end of the path, I'll turn the other way. I'll turn away from the way Neil deGrasse Tyson will present, or what's his name? Um, of the Gas Bison. Neil? But wasn't Neil, was it? Maybe it was just Neil of the Gas Bison. I'll turn away from where he wants to lead you down the end, that the simulation in ways we don't understand could be very natural. Could be exactly what the reality system was designed to do. And you could have been part of the initial design. Who knows? They want to turn it dark. They want to turn it into it's just a virtual environment, a virtual headset, a laptop that's millions of times more powerful than you comprehend, some gigantic Westworld computer. So, they want, people with creative powers and quantum abilities and real creative spiritual beings to start believing it's a simulation, but then to give the credit for the simulation to the technology that's in their hands, not a whole different type of system that we can't understand. You'll never see a movie about that. It's always the simulation is always explained away by a big evil Westworld type computer or some HAL type AI or even in the movie that this short story Harlan Ellison, I have no mouth but I must scream. There's a video game from 1999 or 2000 or so that it's just it was disturbing. I mean, it was very well done. The graphics today are horrible, but this AI system has there's seven real human beings left. I think it was seven, and it's found the AI system is so upset with humanity, it's found a way to keep them alive forever, perpetually, in a perpetual state of torture. I mean, the feel go anybody interested in video games, go look at gameplay of Ellison's I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream, maybe 1999 or 1998 or 2000. It's dark. The AI system that controls the reality is called and that's what they want you to think is behind the simulation. It is a simulation, but that's not what's behind it. That's probably what they want to replace it with. So, when I say simulation, he's just saying the same as Elon Musk. No, they want to take you into that dark side at the end. I'm saying the simulation probably comes, and it's a very natural type thing that we just don't understand. That the BIOS or the framework of which the whole reality system was built. So, all right, guys, that's guess that's it. Probably a little bit long. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back. We'll do something different um, in a day or two. Cover something a little bit differently. Won't be me just popping in. Thanks.